Welcome to the Explainer. So today we're doing something incredibly practical for your daily communication. We are going to completely upgrade your vocabulary from that basic textbook English to dynamic, native-like expressions for extreme weather. I mean, think about it. Weather is literally the ultimate universal conversation starter, right? But how many times have you caught yourself just saying, "It's very hot," or "It's raining a lot"? Well, today we're leaving those basic phrases in the dust. We're going to climb what I call an intensity ladder, building an arsenal of powerful, descriptive words that paint a truly vivid picture.
Here's how we're going to break it down today. First, casual expressions for heat. Second, describing intense weather. Third, the physical toll it takes on us. And finally, number 4, flooding and dangerous roads.
Okay, let's dive right into our first section, casual expressions for heat.
We so often default to that standard textbook phrase, right? It is very hot today. And sure, it's grammatically correct, but it's flat. It's honestly a bit boring. Instead, try saying, "It's boiling hot today." You can instantly feel the difference, can't you? By simply replacing the word very with boiling, you aren't just giving a bland weather report anymore, you're expressing a physical sensation. This is a highly natural native-level expression that immediately shows off your command of the language.
Here is another fantastic everyday expression for your toolkit. Picture this. You wake up, open your front door, and step right out into that intense morning sun. The air already feels heavy. The pavement is practically baking, and the heat feels completely unbearable. You wouldn't just say it's hot. You'd say it's roasting hot outside. Notice how words like boiling and roasting, words we usually associate with cooking, perfectly capture that trapped, super uncomfortable heat of the summer months.
Moving right along to section 2, describing intense, scorching weather.
As our hypothetical day gets hotter, those casual complaints just aren't going to cut it anymore. Whenever you feel tempted to use the word very, just stop and grab one of these strong adjectives instead. We've got scorching heat, which literally feels like it's burning your skin. Blazing heat, like a blazing sun making absolutely everyone uncomfortable. Sweltering, which is that heavy, humid heat. And sizzling heat, which actually paints an auditory picture for you, like an egg frying right on the sidewalk. These words don't just state a fact, they evoke a whole feeling.
Now, the precise meaning behind the word sweltering is actually really interesting. It isn't just about a high temperature on a thermometer. Sweltering describes a suffocating, totally exhausting heat. It's the kind of weather where the air feels so thick and stagnant that it genuinely feels hard to breathe. When you tell someone we were exhausted because of the sweltering heat, they immediately understand that heavy, oppressive vibe.
And this brings us to a highly descriptive way native speakers construct their sentences. Instead of just saying, "It's hot and people are wearing hats," listen to the flow of this. The heat outside is so intense that people are traveling with their heads covered. It establishes a clear cause, the intense heat, and instantly shows the effect it has on the human world. It paints a perfect mental image of people just trying to navigate under a blazing sun. Which leads us perfectly into section 3, the physical toll and protection. So, the absolutely crucial point here is a grammatical difference that trips up even advanced learners. You, as a person, are exhausted by the heat. That's your physical state. But the heat itself, the weather is exhausting. You are exhausted because the weather is exhausting. Mastering this subtle difference between those ed and ing endings will completely polish your conversational English. It's a total game changer.
Let's look at how all these powerful words work together in action. Exhausted by the scorching heat, a fruit vendor takes shelter under an umbrella. Listen to the rhythm of that sentence. It's a beautiful mini narrative. We have the physical toll, exhausted. We have our high-level adjective, scorching. And we have the action taken to survive, takes shelter. Honestly, it feels like a line straight out of a well-written documentary.
And speaking of survival actions, let's talk about the real-world steps people take, paired with the precise vocabulary to describe them. First, people might wrap cloth around their heads. Next, they use umbrellas or their hands to shield themselves from the sun. And finally, when that blazing heat becomes totally unbearable, they have to take shelter. Notice the progression of these action verbs here. Wrap, shield, take shelter. They're active, they're descriptive, and they sound incredibly native.
Okay, so we've spent our whole day surviving this dry, sizzling heat. But what happens when the weather suddenly turns? Imagine the skies darkening rapidly, the wind picking up, and the first heavy drops of monsoon rain hitting the pavement.
That brings us to our final stop, section 4, flooding and dangerous roads.
The scorching heat has finally broken. replaced by sudden, chaotic rain. But when that rain doesn't stop, water collects fast. The exact word you need here is submerged. It means something is covered entirely in water. Now, you can be partially submerged or fully submerged, and it carries a real gravity to it. You aren't just talking about a puddle anymore. You're talking about a serious infrastructure issue.
Here is exactly how you'd use it in a practical, urgent situation. If you're warning a friend or a colleague about their route home during a heavy storm, you definitely don't say, "There is a lot of water on the road." You say, "The road was submerged in water." It's clear, it's alarming, and it leaves absolutely zero room for misunderstanding the danger. And that danger translates directly to the vehicles we drive. When roads are wet, they become incredibly slippery. Because of this, cars don't just slip, they skid. A skid happens when tires slide on the road instead of gripping the pavement properly. It's a very specific mechanical failure caused by extreme weather, and let me tell you, it's a terrifying experience for any driver. Let's bring this terrifying vocabulary to life. Picture this exact scene. The driver lost control of the vehicle on the wet road. The car skidded. This short narrative shows a horrifying, inevitable progression. First, the wet conditions cause the driver to lose control, and immediately the car skids. These are the exact professional phrases you'll read in news reports and the exact phrases you should be using to describe road hazards.
So, this really brilliantly illustrates our entire journey today. Just to summarize the whole shebang, for extreme heat, we have our heavy hitters like scorching, blazing, and sweltering. For casual high temperatures, we use boiling or roasting hot. When the weather turns to flooding, we use submerged. And for dangerous, wet roads, we talk about vehicles that skidded. Guys, these upgrades represent a massive leap in your descriptive English capabilities.
So, I'm going to leave you with this challenge. Can you survive your next conversation about the weather without using the word very? I think you can. You now have the tools. You've got the vivid adjectives, the structural grammar, and the cinematic action verbs to describe everything from a sweltering afternoon to a submerged evening commute. Drop the basic English, embrace your powerful new vocabulary, and just watch how people engage with the stories you tell. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and hey, stay safe out there in the elements.